Joined with the pioneer of dance music, Radio 1's very own Judge Jules. It's been a while since we last caught up. How's things?
Merry, because here in London today it's nice weather, and the minute the days get long and you get the occasional glimmer of sunshine, suddenly the old spirit rises, and SAD, seasonally affected disorder, which we all suffer from throughout the winter, disappears, and everybody smiles a bit, which is nice.
Now the summer is fast approaching, meaning more outdoor festivals and of course more Ibiza. You said that Judgment Sundays last year was its biggest it's ever been. For someone who has never been to Judgment Sundays, how do you personally sell the night?
Thankfully now it's been there long enough that its reputation sells itself, but I guess originally we wanted to be a sort of non-pretentious club in Ibiza, in that you can go to Pasha, which is very European, the crowd look very cool, the venue's fantastic, but ultimately the atmosphere is just nowhere near as good as what we have in Judgment Sundays. What we have, we've always been in Eden, and actually, to be fair, Eden as a club has continually reinvested and is now very much up there with the other venues in Ibiza, but when we started arguably it didn't. But it's always just had this immense atmosphere, initially just in the main room, and then we sort of built it up to the second room as well, and now we've got it going in 3 rooms, and you know, I can put my hand on my heart and say it's very difficult to find a better atmosphere in Ibiza anywhere.
Saturdays over the summer mean you have to fly to Ibiza at the first available opportunity the next morning, meaning very little sleep. How do you do it?
I just make a tit of myself on the plane. People sort of point, and you know, some people take photos and stuff, and there am I sort of absolutely zombified. I obviously book myself that emergency exit row on the flight, and do my best to sleep, really. I mean, it's not particularly healthy, but unfortunately the flight times to Ibiza, year in, year out, seem to be either very early in the morning on a Sunday or so late in the day that I run the risk of not getting there in time for my night, and therefore I have to do it that way, which it's not nice. I mean, I get to my house in Ibiza and just sleep.
In terms of gigs, you would do upwards of 200 a year. Would you plan your life out in weeks or in months in advance, or how do you physically and mentally plan your life ahead?
I think the aim is to do, over the course of a month, a selection of stuff that's long haul, short haul flights, then some stuff that's more local, and trying to get a balance over the course of a month. You know, I've got a wife and 2 small kids, and whilst my job involves my being away, it's very important to balance it out and not be away too much. It's not an easy life, probably, being the other members of my family, because I am away quite a bit, and that's the main consideration when planning out any given month. You
made it clear your delight at when the smoking ban was imposed. Has it hindered the attendance of some of your UK gigs?
I don't think it has, no. I mean, clearly, sometimes it's difficult to make a judgment about how many people are in the bigger clubs, because I'm always playing in the main room, and sometimes the difference between their busiest night and their slightly less busy night is the secondary rooms, you know, the bits around the edge that you don't necessarily see from the dance floor. But certainly, you know, elements of the licensing trade, pubs and stuff, and some of the more commercial clubs have been reporting a drop in business as a consequence of the smoking ban, but I can't say I've really noticed it myself. What I have noticed is that when it's a little bit more difficult to predict your set, because if a huge bunch of mates, all of whom are smokers, choose to go out from the dance floor at the same time, it doesn't matter if you're playing the biggest record in your box. If that's the moment where the nicotine addiction kicks in, then unfortunately they're going to leave, and it leaves a gaping hole on the dance floor. So a bit of the science of DJing has been taken away, where you knew you could play sort of very new, slightly less crowd-pleasing records in the knowledge that around the corner you'd always have that big anthem to kind of draw people back onto the dance floor. It's made that aspect of it a little bit more difficult, but ultimately I've got to say I'm pleased about it, and it, you know, call me selfish because there are brilliant smokers out there, but it's not. It's the only aspect of my job that I didn't find all that pleasant, you know, coming in smelling like an ashtray when I'd finished the night's work.
Getting back to Radio 1, you presented the Essential Mix at the Arches in Glasgow with Barry Connell, which I was at. Do you think Barry Connell's something to look out for in the future?
Definitely. I mean, as with producers, you need a new generation of DJs. It's all very well, I've been doing this quite a long time. I mean, there are DJs out there who are older than me, but I'm definitely one of the older DJs now still on the circuit. And it's very important that new, fresh blood comes through to keep the kind of club scene buoyant, and that there are new, interesting producers at the same time. Of course, in many circumstances, the producers and the DJs are one and the same.
Your Radio 1 shows moved from a Saturday night to a Friday night into Saturday morning. Are you happy enough?
Yeah, very much so. It's enabled me to get out and do gigs that I couldn't do before, because I had a quite severe restriction on my ability to pre-record when I was doing the live Saturday night show. And I've just been doing a show that's very representative of what I do in clubs. That's kind of a calling card for me, whereas before I was trying to be all things to all people, which was the professional thing to do at that time. But in terms of the music that really tickles me, that is representative of my sound, what I'm doing now is certainly there.
This week you're in the UK for 3 gigs, including the opening night of the Gallery at the Ministry of Sound in London on Friday night. You made it clear that the Gallery's old home, Turnmills, had and always will have a very special place in your heart. Will that make Friday's gig at this new home even more special for you?
Yes, I mean, it's a strange one because I've been releasing mix albums for the Ministry for 10 years or thereabouts, and I've got a Judgment Sundays album coming out through the Ministry in a month or so's time. But I actually haven't been to the club for about 5 years, and I believe it's had a major refurb since then. I've been to the offices, which are attached to the club, but you don't actually have to go into the club in order to go to the offices. I've been to the offices on numerous occasions. So before 5 years ago, I used to play at the Ministry quite frequently, but it's going to be going back and revisiting old pastures, which should be, quite interesting.
Looking towards the future, on an aspect that some people might not know of, you are a football fanatic. You have been an Arsenal season ticket holder for many a year. After watching the match on Tuesday and the match on Wednesday with both Manchester United and Liverpool, can you give me your predictions for the Champions League final?
I would imagine Man U Chelsea, but you can never quite predict the outcome of a Liverpool Chelsea semi-final, bearing in mind what's happened over the past few years.
Now, being an Arsenal supporter and both Chelsea being in London and Arsenal, would that edge the way for a sort of biased Manchester United support on the final if they get there?
I'm not very keen on Man U or Chelsea. I mean, Arsenal are by far and away the biggest supported team in London. I mean, they've got 60,000 capacity stadium, got 40,000 season ticket holders, and the waiting list for season tickets is about 20 or 30,000 deep. Chelsea can't fill their ground every single week, although to be fair, they do fill it most weeks. But it's a bit of a bitter pill to swallow when a new kid on the block comes and gets, to an extent tries to pull the rug from under your feet. In terms of Chelsea, and as far as Man U's concerned, it's really the age-old issue of them not having very many supporters from Manchester. I know loads of people in Manchester and they all support City, whereas the coaches and planes going over from Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland as well to Man United would probably fill about 10% of the stadium. So I support Arsenal because I was born and raised 2 miles down the road. I suppose it's easy to say, but if I was born and raised in West Ham, I'm sure I'd support West Ham. Whereas that's the thing I've got about Man U. But ultimately, I suppose surely there's more important things to worry about in life.
There certainly is. Jules, once again, it's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.
See ya.